We don't need no dance. And we don't need no tie string just to be an Omega man. What you say? We don't need no music. And we don't need no dance. Alright. Here we go. We're going to try this again. We're going to see if we can not be bad at this today and do the thing with the stuff. Alright, so last time I left off, we were looking at, what are we looking at? We're looking at how to load data asynchronously in the view model in a Xamarin Forms application. Yeah. So here's this load data is our actual Xamarin Forms application, and we got some stuff around here. And I want to say the last time we left off, we were looking at this coffee beans data service, and I ran into this snag where I didn't want to create multiple coffee bean. I didn't want to create multiple iHub clients because I felt like that was going to take away from the generic aspect of these clients. I'm going to maintain that I still think that that's the case, but I do need to find a way to make this a thing, right? Because basically what I want to do is I want to return from the client some stream of events that are happening from the client. Because you see I've got my intro to SignalR stuff up over here on the right or on the left today. So really what it comes down to is I'm trying to find a way to do this and see, this is where friends of mine were just like, Rodney, just make it work and then come back and make it look nice. Okay, so that's probably what we're going to do. We're going to just make it work and then come make it look nice. So what I think I left off with last time, let me actually see if I can, no, it's going to want to load from disk. Okay, so this is the starting point from the last time, right? So let's do terminal, let's do save, let's do git status just to be sure. Yep, working directory is clean. All right, cool. So we are exactly where we left off last time. I have not done anything on any of this code, haven't even pushed it up to GitHub yet. So what I think that I want, right? Because in your normal scenario, you would have like some HTTP client that would serve data to your data service. And what I'm doing is I'm using this data service concept on top of my API client, which, in this case happens to be SignalR API. SignalR service, I guess, is really what it comes down to. It's still really just an API, but it's just a push-based API instead of a pull-based API. So it's IObservable instead of IEnumerable, but whatever. Who's counting? So if I take a copy of the hub client and I put it in, right, then I can get access to this. This is now giving me, what are you yelling at me about? You're telling me that everything, it could be used as a local variable. Yeah, we'll get back to that. And you haven't determined whether or not you're using, oh, you legitimately don't know which one to use. Let's just say that every single one, coffee beans, should return a single coffee bean DTO, right? Alright, so it'll return a single coffee bean DTO. So we're going to subscribe to the observer, which should give us a single. So why does this not want to know? So how about this? We'll be smart. And we most likely have an add method on here because we do stuff like that. No, that's definitely not it. So let's go look at the data service base class. We've got a get all save. Okay, so we have a save. So we'll just call our own save method. Usually I do like an add and update, but today for whatever. Okay, so it's saying the type argument lambda is not assignable to IObservable. I feel like somebody's playing tricks on me today. Somebody is playing tricks on me. Yep, someone's playing tricks on me. This will give us a chance to system.reactive is not included in the project. I'm like, why won't this work? Because system.reactive is not included and it doesn't know what the heck I'm trying to do because I'm just passing it some random observer. So I'm scared to do that because I don't know. I know they just released this version. I'm trying to figure out what the last version that ReactiveUI is pinned to. So let's go look at that real quick. Org ReactiveUI, and I probably could have done it from in here, but I like to look at the web portal. Yeah, we just pushed 11.3.1, so I'm pretty sure I'm doing 11.2 star. Let me go look at the stuffs on this edit. I am using 11.2.3, so 11.2.3 has a dependency on, I want to say 4.3.2. Okay, so let's grab 4.3.2, which is the previous version. That's good. 4.3.2, let's do data services, and let's add that explicitly. Go ahead and install the thing that does the stuff. So now, hopefully, this thing knows. Haha! Man, Rodney, you are freaking brilliant. No, still it doesn't know. Oh, so it still truly doesn't know which one to use. That is extremely odd. All right, so let's do that. All right, so let's go back here because Rodney is now going to be completely anal about this because I want to use the source cache directly to add or update X. Okay, so now it knows what's going on. All right, here we go. I was looking at that. I'm like, why is that not working? Okay, so we'll come back later and make all of this look pretty. But for the moment, what we've got here is we've got a more specific version of the interface coming in. It gets passed to the underlying interface on the base class, so everything's good there. I think we proved last time that if we took that inheritance stack off, right, like if I did this here, if I delete that and save, this immediately yells because it doesn't have the same inheritance stack. So let's do that and go and undo the thing so that won't be mad. All right. So now what this data service is doing is it's saying anytime something comes in on the hub client, just add it to the source list, right? So the source cache. I want to say data service base should have a data cache, which is the data source, which is fine. So now we actually might even have a fully, like a nice, and that's funny because now we can actually use the same base class for mocks as well. The question is, do we want to connect the hub, where do we want to connect the hub client? That probably needs to be moved to protected. You're going to tell me that this can be made private, but I don't believe you for some reason. Oh, it's only because I'm not using it here, but I can explicitly cast it, but I won't do that. That just makes it ugly. Or what I can do is, that's too many generics for me, because then that means that I would have to bind the data service to a generic hub client and a generic data type, and that's just too much. And then I could explicitly have an iHub client type, and that could be a thing, but that's again more generics than I want to deal with. So let's see if we can change these things to an expression body without it being too. Yeah, I know, Rodney, you are way too anal about the way your code looks. I would argue that some of you are not anal enough. That gives me the observable if I change set. That gives me that. So now I can explicitly go here in my view model, that's the load data item view model base should have, okay. So let's actually just build this real quick and run the app to see what happens, because I honestly have no idea where we left off. So I think we're both going to be surprised, or all of us, for anybody who's paying attention out there in the world today. Messaging Driscoll. The music down. All right, so one of these things is not. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things does not belong. That's the. I must have done something weird. So what I was doing was using the Twitch feed on my thing to see who was paying attention. Actually edit that. Can we edit that? Oh, we'd have to change the thing. Can we edit the thing from here? Nope. All we can do is report and block. We cannot edit the thing from there. All right. So, okay. So there is a view. Okay, there's a view. This is the view. We're doing up the view model. Then we're doing all the stuff, things. Yay. Everybody's happy. That's not good. Save. So now when we go back to our simulator, this is our simulator. So we're going to explicitly close this. No. We want that one. Haha. All right. So we'll take this and move that there. Magnet can't interact with it. Okay, that's fine. We'll drop that down so we don't have that ugly background. All right, so we've got our loaded list of data stuffs. All right, so now let's implement our view model and see what that looks like, because what we're going to do is do a public this thing, and we're going to take in a copy of coffee. Ooh, is there no? This is interesting. What did I do here? How did I do this? There should be. Ah, that's what it is. Let's do the thing, Rodney. Let's do it like we know what we're doing. All right. So most of the time, this is how I think I would do it. So I'll create like an actual public interface. Now, a lot of people say this is like interface overload. There's a reason why I'm doing this, because I might come back later and show how to unit test the thing. Data service. It's going to be an iData service of coffee bean right now. We don't have anything explicit other than my inability to spell coffee, which I seem to love so much. Anyway. Yeah. So like I can put additional interface stuff in here if I want to. It becomes kind of trivial at that point. We don't have to worry about certain things. So I don't have the chat up. I probably should have like another window or something going on over here, but I don't. If you give me the moment, I can actually probably go set that up. But I should have thought about that sooner rather than later, so I'll worry about what people are saying to me at another point in the times. So yeah, I can put additional stuff in here, but we'll go ahead and move that out to move. There we go. And we'll pass in a copy of that to the thing. All right, so now we're getting into like just straight up, you know, dependency injection. This probably then needs to take a reference on services, and that shouldn't be there. We'll come back to that later because that's going to bother me. I forget exactly how to remove it. Let's just call this data service, right? Because we are going to try to only have a data service per view model. So that'll be that, right? So now we've got this here. And what we can do is underscore data service dot iObservable change set. So now this is where it gets weird, right? So I can do it here. I'll show this here. I can do a transform of that using X such that new load data detail item view model. Nope, that's all we want. No, it's gonna want to use dynamic data just not reference and import because this should already be dynamic data should already be there. NuGet dynamic should be there. Yeah, it's okay. So I added it one place and not both. And what ReactiveUI takes a dependency on it, so I technically shouldn't have to do this, but for whatever reason. All right, let's go edit stuff. Edit. Yes, I know I'm taking the long way around. You don't have to tell me. I already know. Edit. Let's go here. Do that. And while we're in here, let's go ahead and clean up. And then we'll move those up because what's not to be anal about that, right? So now that's there. Load view model will now know what transform is. It will just ask me to reference it, right? Let's do an explicit internal. Okay, so now that knows what's going on, yeah? Just use dynamic data. There we go. Dot bind out underscore data source dispose many dot subscribe. Yeah, that's gonna yell because I don't have the right reference in that file. This is now gonna become a read-only observable collection, which means now I need to bring in. I actually want to point that out, right? So a lot of people will use observable collection and don't know that there's other types of observable collections. So let me point out that this observable, read-only observable collection is actually in the system.collections namespace. So it's not something magic that ReactiveUI did or Dynamic Data did. This is actually already exists from the framework. All right, so now all that will do stuff and things. So now what I can do is create a public read-only observable, read-only observable collection of load data item view model. Call this items, yeah, because that's a thing. I could technically even put that on the base class, but I don't really like doing that only because it gets kind of weird. Then we have to do like typings and junk and whatnot, and it gets ugly. So underscore data source, yeah. So now what we're saying is that, so we'll now take this, right, and we'll go to our load data, and it's gonna do this when any value initialize data, so it's doing invoke command. So okay, I showed both ways of doing this. We'll just send in a new coffee data service for the moment with a new coffee bean mock, yeah, because DI is hard. DI is not actually hard. We're just making it hard. And again, the framework is not doing any of these niceties for me. So the reason why this looks like this is because the framework is not doing any of those niceties. I'm actually going to pause for a quick second. All right, I'm back. So, all right. So we'll get back to the DI part of it later, because DI is hard, but this kind of just shows fun stuff. So we've got this initialization. So in the initialization, what we'll do is we'll go to F12 and we'll say override execute initialize data. We'll do underscore data service dot get all. We'll even go as far as to await it. Async, yep. And you're going to tell me to sort my modifiers. We're going to change that to an expression body. It's awesome. So now what we're going to do is do this. So now we've explicitly overridden the default behavior. It's going to go do the get all of the thing, which is just going to say go get me coffee beans types. Then it's going to start piping it out to the data service. So now what we need to do is we need to bind it. So I've actually been having some issues with some of the ReactiveUI bindings, and there's an issue that's on the board that I really need to look at, and I think I'm going to have to start looking at it again sometime soon. I may actually get Driscoll on here to help me look at it because it's pretty intense. It's got a lot of reflection, and he's got a lot of reflection knowledge, so I may get him to come help me. But anyway, neither here nor there. The important part is this, that we can do this dot when any value So when there's a value in items where X, where it's not null, we can do a bind to X dot. Were we smart enough to name the list view? We did not name the list view. Okay, so let's do that. Let's call this loaded. Loaded list. That's gonna be X name equals, yeah, X name equals that stuff. Yeah, all right. And now we use that, and we'll do dot item source. Oh, I actually think I know why that wasn't working. Dispose with. Oh, do I not have a composite disposable to dispose with? Let's do that real quick. Oh, we didn't create a content page based class. Let's go do that real quick because that's something. So a lot of people say that ReactiveUI should be responsible for this, and I don't know how I feel about it. I'll say this. It's something minor that I have done for myself, and I have an entire library that I use that adds this small, thin piece of abstraction. It's not something that everybody wants to use. This is actually kind of some of the stuff that when activated does. So it's not a pattern that we as a framework subscribe to, but it is a pattern that you can use. Let's call this content page base. This is going to be of type content page T, and that means where T is of type class, I believe. Yeah. All right, so that's done. And then in here, what I usually do is I do like a protected composite disposable. View bindings. So this is something that I'll clean up every time. And this is like the global cleanup for disposal. I may do, like I had some interesting conversation with Dan Siegel around page disposal in Xamarin Forms. So I may actually do some stuff on that later. On another day. Content page base. Load data view model. Now I gotta go do funky stuff. So now this is where like XML namespacing becomes a fun thing. Because like now I have this, which changes the XML namespacing to load data, and now we no longer need this. Alright, so now if the load data view cell dots, okay, so it should be, oh no, that's not what I wanted to do. This should be generically typed. Yeah, this is generically typed to that, so it should know that that's the binding context. So maybe I need to explicitly do that as part of it, but it should know that this is the binding context. It's a reactive view cell, so it should know. It should be fine. But this is where I've been seeing some weird stuff, is in this binding. This binding hasn't been working correctly, so I've had to default to the Xamarin Forms bindings, which I'm not a fan of, but gets the job done. So let's go ahead. What I just break? I think pharmacist just broke. Yeah, pharmacist just broke. Okay, yeah, because this is not supposed to be there. Why is it even there? Exclude it. Oh, that might be something that pharmacist is adding back. And that's part of the problem. I'll have to take a look at that with Glenn later. Error running while another build is running. Okay. Haha, I just found his. Okay. Cool. Cannot create build requests while another build is running. There's a build running? I'm going to click the button again. And this time it's all going to just magically work, right? Yeah, there we go. That's all it takes. All right, so it's going to do some binding junk. It's going to call the get all, and it dies. And it says an object reference is not set to an instance of an object. It's data service base 12. 12, 12, 12. Ooh, okay, stop. Think I know what's going on there. Let's go to our mock client. Yep, see that? You see how smart we are? All right, so we could, oh, wait. I thought I did that already. Nope, I didn't. So this little trick, I don't know if you saw what just happened, but what just happened was, go back one more. Yeah, okay. So this source cache, so I'm explicitly using a source cache as opposed to a source list. A source cache is a dictionary implementation, more akin to a dictionary implementation. So it requires a key, and the key that I chose was the ID, which is a GUID, which needs to explicitly be set. And normally what I do is I go to the base class. Maybe not. Maybe it's not going to go forward. All right. So normally what I do is I go to the base class. And just set the ID there in because that makes life easy. And now it'll have a value. So now when I run it, it won't blow up because it'll actually have a value, which is like, yay. No, what are we doing? We're doing it again. Object reference not set to some, maybe we lied to ourselves. Maybe we didn't tell ourselves the truth. Now what's the problem? It's saying again, it's happening in the base service. iSource cache, load, what? All right, let's do the things. That was line 26, yeah. Pretty sure. Not 110% sure what's going on there, but okay, that's just a reactive object, so we don't really care about that just yet. That's just going to be a view cell, so again, we really don't care about that just yet. Okay, so it's doing something. What exactly? We don't know. Did we spell it wrong? Oh, it can be made read-only, so make it read-only. That way the little warning system will yell it go away. That takes items and pushes it into the item source. Items is going to have data service. The data service. Ooh. Are we running into an awkward scenario where this is, no, because this is subscribed, so that shouldn't matter, but we'll put a breakpoint there anyway. Yeah, I get that. So who sees what we are missing? Anybody? Viewer. Nobody sees what we're missing. We just cannot spell. Oh, it doesn't know how to deal with Arabicas and beans. That means I must have spelled it incorrectly. Oh well. We'll look that up in a minute too. Arabica beans. Coffee beans. It's just going to be an observable. The DTO, the service. The service gets called. the client gets called, so we're just going to call the connect. What happens on this connect? It just returns a completed task. So that won't matter. So where are we breaking? Let's figure that one out. Okay, we're going back to loading data. Oh, the whole time you couldn't see my screen. How about that? Oh, way better when you can actually see my screen. I've got an actual coffee bean. Okay, here's a coffee bean. It's got a... Oh, boo. Okay, yeah, that's Rodney playing it safe and being freaking smart. We are so smart. I am so smart. That is going to explicitly return empty every time. So let's do GUID.newGUID, because that'll give me a GUID. GUID, I'm not quite sure how people like to pronounce that. I tend to pronounce things like off from the way most people like to pronounce them. I don't know if that's because I'm off or they're off or the world is off, but we generally don't see eye to eye on everything. All right, so F5, 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 going through the code. Oh, you seem to only be able to see a piece of my code, so let's close that, bring that over. Somebody should remind me to ask Matthias how to make that the default. Let's just do... all the difference. Okay, so maybe you can only see the left half. Okay, so all you can see is part of my screen anyway. I guess that means I need to stream a better resolution. Object reference. It's telling me it's happening in the same spot. Do update GUID.newGUID. It's got to be getting a new GUID every time, so that shouldn't be the problem. On line 29 of load, data view model, get all. All right, so then we're gonna be smarter than the average bear and pay closer attention to the code that we write. Wait, task, dot completed task. So I'm like, oh, we saved ourselves from another problem. All right, here we go. And we hit a mono error, invalid number of rows. Eh? Eh? do Control Shift 12? No, Control Shift 12 doesn't do it. So let's do F12. Shift F12. There we go. That'll get me to the mock. And that's going to do it from every second. So let's do like every second and every 1.5 seconds just to give us a little bit more time. Let's go look up Arabica. Yeah. Coffee beans Arabic. Yeah, okay. I'm like, man, I know I'm spelling that right. I did not know whether or not I was spelling that right or not. So now we can at least see that. All right, so this gives us actually a good base point. Because like what can happen here is like our base data service can take in a hub client and maybe like a persistence service or something like that, something that actually stores it to a data layer, maybe like an Akavash or a Monkey Cache or some type of caching mechanism, or maybe even some full fidelity SQLite database or Realm database, right? So like all of that can happen inside here, and then you just load that up into your source cache. Let your source cache do the thing, and then when you actually go and save, right, you can update your source cache and then update your database, and then maybe call to the API and do all of that asynchronously right from here. That way you can reduce the amount of stuffs that needs to be done in the view model if we can get to it, right? But this is a base point for us to see that we can push in all of this junk. Yeah, we're gonna have to. Yeah, this is gonna have to change from default T. So let's go ahead and change that now. Let's change it to entity. Entity. Let's. No, we don't want to do that. There should be. I think there's a list or something. There's a dot lookup. We can do a lookup by the key, and then we can do var. Optional. We'll just call it what it is for now. Equals that, and then we can say optional dot value. There's a very big possibility that that becomes a problem. Like we may have to do something like an optional has value. Let's do that, right? So maybe we have to do like a optional dot has value. Yes, optional dot value. Otherwise, return default, and we can probably reduce that even more. We can probably just return optional. Right, and optional. Ooh, okay, maybe not. So yeah, we'll leave that there for now. That'll be fine. That way we can get something directly out of the source cache if we want to. Again, maybe we do some additional monkeying around with the way that's done in the future. But this is a relatively clean abstraction for what we need right now, and kind of gets us in the habit of getting something from a Signal Hub client. So I think I'm actually going to stop here, put some additional thoughts around how we can move forward, and then we'll come back, and when we come back, then I may do some additional making the view cell look pretty, and I'll do that off camera so you don't have to see my wonderful UI skills. Right? So you don't have to witness my wonderful UI skills. But like I said, this is this is me looking at the observable cache of change sets. I could also, show you that real quick. So I could also write this, and this is why I said like there's two kind of ways, and I'll kind of go over that again in a second. So that's the data source that we have, but like I also have access to the actual cache itself, and from here I would have to do connect, and probably want to do a publish, and probably want to do a ref count. Yep. So, and this, as you'll notice, is the same code that exists. That's the same code that sits here. Here I'm really just saying, give me the source cache, connect to it, publish connectable, observable, and give me just the ref count version. So when there's no more subscribers, it'll take care of itself. And then when there's a subscriber again, it'll give you a new value. So this way, when the subscriber, it'll kind of cache the value and make sure that subscribers are all getting the same value type thing, which is kind of generally what you want to do in asynchronous calls. But this is just a nicety way. I've seen it done both ways. I've done it both ways. Sometimes I will explicitly return the cache, and then sometimes because I want to get access to the cache. Now I'll point out that this doesn't give me access to the full source cache. It only gives me access to these things. So it doesn't actually let me get to the add methods, which is why we have this abstraction around it. It's kind of basically decorating the internal source cache, and then we're putting it back out as only the interface. So when subscribers get to it, the only thing that they can get to is stuff that we want them to get to, which is going to be stuff like the connect and all that jazz that we did in the load data view model, right? So here it gives us the observable cache so we can connect to it, which is a dynamic data method that then returns a filtered stream of the cache. Yeah, right. So it's all right there. You can read. I don't have to read that stuff for you. But this is just, like I say, it's just going to connectable observable and give us a ref count, so that'll take care of all of our disposal logic for us. Here we're just transforming it out, we're binding it to the data source, and everything seems to be working. So I don't know why that's not working in my other project. I'll have to go back and look at that, because the other project I have that I was doing this with, I'm actually just going to use this because to me this is cleaner. If you need more power and more, you can do it this way. Sometimes you'll want to dictate where you subscribe on versus where you observe on. So, this gives us more raw power. I provided both specifically so you could see what it looks like. But that's kind of all I've got for now. So we will go ahead and pause the thing here. And you can have back at it.